Hey folks, welcome back. Short video today. Hopefully, I mostly just want to kind of keep us together. Those who are doing the reading through the Bible here. Of course, this week is coming up on Easter, so I know my thoughts are kind of in various other places, and there's kind of more going on here. But I wanted to keep on tracking with the story here a bit. We're in 2 Samuel chapters 20 through 22, although I'm going to reach back a little bit because I didn't do a video yesterday. I just want to reflect a little bit on Absalom's death and David's response here. It's interesting for us to think about what's the value of the kind of details of these things being recorded here in Scripture. Of course, we could just say, well, they're recorded because they happened. They happened to an important figure in the biblical story. So that's valuable in and of itself. But I believe that there's more to it than that. But I'm just kind of thinking about that a little bit and trying to kind of figure out, how do some of these stories kind of help to shape either our faith or our understanding of what was going on in this time period in history. One of the things that kind of rises to the surface to me, and I think I mentioned this already before, is that this is not really a time of peace. I think I had more in my mind, like I knew I was more acquainted with the kind of overlap between Saul and David and their kind of conflict, but I don't think I had just spent as much time in these chapters that we've been in this week to kind of realize how it doesn't seem like there was ever really an extended period of time during David's kingship, and we'll see afterwards, that really was peaceful for an extended period of time. There seems to be more conflict, and I don't know if that's better for us to realize or if it's less hopeful. It kind of points us more, I guess maybe it points us more forward into the story than back. Like this isn't, although David's looked upon very favorably for a lot of good reasons in the biblical narrative, there's a lot of challenges sort of going on here. So we look some at the conflict with David and his son Absalom, who wanted to kind of temporarily did take over leadership there and what was going on. In chapter 18, Absalom dies. And so David's kind of caught in this complicated situation because politically, Absalom is his enemy. Wanted him dead, wanted to take over his throne, and he had to flee and all this. So you would think, and everybody else in David's entourage and his advisors and his military thought that, and so at the end of chapter 18, when the messenger comes, he thinks David's going to be thrilled. But Absalom is his son. It's hard for us to imagine, right? You're in a situation where you're literally at war with your own child. And so when he hears about Absalom's death, he's not thrilled. I mean, in a sense, probably is good that that the threat is gone, but he did not want for his son to die in the process, and that's what happened. So it's when the person came to announce it, his question was, verse 32, chapter 18, is the young man Absalom safe? And this guy replies, may the enemies of my lord the king and all who rise up to him be like that young man. So it's his kind of fancy way of saying he's dead. It says in verse 33, the king was shaken. He went up to the room over the gateway and wept. As he went, he said, oh, my son Absalom, my son Absalom, if only I had died instead of you. Oh, Absalom, my son. So he's, not doing great. So Joab, his military guy, in chapter 19, verse 5, he kind of rebukes the king a little bit after a while. Joab went to the house of the king and said, "Today you have humiliated all your men." So all the men were out there defending him. They won in that defense, and now he's more devastated that their military enemy is dead because it's his son. And so they're like, "Did we make the king happy or not? Like we thought we were doing his work, but now he's upset about it." And so, how are they supposed to feel? And Joab, of course, is the commander of those. So he says, this is Joab to David, verse 6 of chapter 19. "You love those who hate you and hate those who love you. You have made it clear today that the commanders and their men mean nothing to you. I see that you would be pleased if Absalom were alive today and all of us were dead." So you can see how he felt too. Maybe could have had a little bit more sympathy for the father-son connection here. But he said, now it's just funny how he's like talking David. I guess he just wants to get him out of this funk or whatever. But he seems to be comfortable. They have a lot of history, I guess, speaking very boldly to David. And basically he says the consequence too, like if you don't encourage them, like they're going to leave. They're not going to stay with you if they don't know what's going on here. So he did. So he went and get them. So David returns to Jerusalem. And I'm just going to kind of flip again quickly. But again, there's just more rebellion. Chapter 20 is this, another substantial example of that. In chapter 21, in the later part, there's all these other battles against the Philistines, one of the other people groups, their enemies. Once again, there was a battle. In the course of time, there was another battle, and still yet another battle. So it's like one thing after the other. Chapter 21 is interesting. If you don't remember the backstory of the beginning of chapter 21 and these people, the Gibeonites, flip back to Joshua chapter 9. We saw them back there. These are these people that they pretended to be someone that they weren't so that they could make a covenant so that Joshua and God's people wouldn't wipe them out. And so they did that, and King Saul killed a bunch of them, even though there was an ongoing promise between Israel and them to be on each other's sides. So, a challenging thing there too as well. And then chapter 22 that ends our reading for today is this interesting long song of praise. It looks a lot like a psalm, right? Where David recounts, God's salvation. Again, very much sounds like a psalm. "The Lord is my rock, my fortress, and my deliverer. He is my rock in whom I take refuge, my shield, the horn of my salvation, my stronghold." And he's talking a lot about God's provision for him through these military conflicts. Again, salvation here is not like spiritual salvation. I mean, it's not that it's not spiritual, but it's very much tangible. You saved my life from my enemies, kind of thing. The thing that I'm wrestling with a little bit here, I'm curious what you guys think about this in that psalm in chapter 22 is, so it starts in verse 21, this kind of section. "The Lord dealt with me according to my righteousness, according to the cleanness of my hands, he has rewarded me. For I have kept the ways of the Lord. I am not guilty of turning away from God. All his laws are before me, and I have not turned away from his decrees. I have been blameless before him and have kept myself from sin. The Lord has rewarded me according to my righteousness, according to my cleanness in his sight." So I read that. I'm thinking, did you forget about Bathsheba and Uriah and all of that? So, that's kind of this wrestling thing. And there's a lot of, aspects of this to sort of think about. But here's the thing. And again, by and large, I think David's life and his faith are remembered very positively. And perhaps it's a lesson to us that one dreadful rebellion or sin, or even for an extended period of time, doesn't need to define our whole lives. It's not that just because we've not been faithful or been grossly unfaithful at one period of time, it's not that our lives can't change and we can't be, again, people that are devoted to God. And in God's confrontation to the prophet of David with that great sin, David confessed his sin, and he he doesn't walk away from God. He comes back to God in the realization of that. So it's just an interesting thing to think about a person's life, about our lives, and kind of how we think about that. So some things to consider here, ponder today. I will see you guys later. Have a good night.